In the entire history of the world, no nation has ever done what Britain did in the 19th century. They took the most powerful navy ever assembled and used it to wage war against an institution that had existed for thousands of years. They weren't conquering territory. They weren't stealing resources. They were hunting slave traders. And they were willing to fight anyone, anywhere, to stop them. Britain confronted over 50 African kingdoms and Arab sultanates. They captured 1,600 slave ships. They freed 150,000 enslaved people. They bombarded slave fortresses into rubble. They burned slave markets that had operated for centuries. They told sultans and kings the same message: end the slave trade, or we will end you. This is the story of the Royal Navy's war on slavery, a crusade that cost Britain 2% of its entire national budget every year. A campaign that killed 1 in 5 British sailors who served in it. A military operation that changed the world. Let me show you what really happened when Britain decided that slavery had to end, no matter the cost. After Britain abolished the slave trade in 1807, they faced a massive problem. Other nations continued trading. Arab merchants had been running slave operations for 1,000 years. African kingdoms profited from selling captives. European competitors ignored the ban. Britain's answer was unprecedented: enforce abolition globally with military force. In 1808, they created the West Africa Squadron, dedicating 1/6 of the entire Royal Navy to hunting slavers. But they didn't just chase ships at sea. They took the fight to land, attacking slave markets and fortresses directly. The West Africa Squadron patrolled 3,000 miles of African coast. Over 50 years, they captured 1,600 slave ships and freed 150,000 people. When British sailors caught a slave ship, they'd free the captives, burn the vessel, and arrest the crew. But Britain realized they were treating symptoms, not the disease. They needed to destroy the source: the slave fortresses, the markets, the kingdoms that supplied the trade. Britain began attacking the infrastructure of slavery itself. They targeted slave fortresses along the coast, massive stone structures that had operated for centuries. British warships would sail into ports, demand the release of captives, and if refused, bombard the fortifications into rubble. Slave pens burned. Markets were destroyed. Local rulers received ultimatums: sign a treaty ending slavery or face continued bombardment. Between 1820 and 1860, Britain forced over 50 African chiefs and kings to sign anti-slavery treaties. These weren't friendly negotiations. These were agreements made at gunpoint. In 1840 alone, dozens of treaties were signed along the West